Conservative MP and leadership candidate Andrew Scheer is promising to defund universities that don't support freedom of speech. But why not take it a step further? Why not take away all public money, both from the provincial and federal government, from all universities? You see, universities have become a breeding ground for radicalized cultural Marxism because most professors actually lean left and indoctrinate their students with their political ideologies. Cultural Marxism is the political movement platformed on irrationality, lies, and fake outrage over the causes that social justice warriors push, like white privilege, anti-Islamophobia, and third-wave feminism. These people usually use minorities and identity politics to chant and shout down their opponents. And at the end of the day, they usually turn out to be incoherent, uninformed liars that ignore facts. Like when they talk about the wage gap without talking about differences between men and women, for example. According to 25 years worth of statistics from the Higher Education Research Institute, in the South and Great Plains in the United States, liberal professors outnumber conservative professors 3-to-1. Those numbers increase to 6-to-1 on the West Coast and skyrocket to 28-to-1 in New England. So you gotta know that conservative kids really don't stand a chance on campus and are usually social outcasts because they won't take part in the latest parade based on faux outrage. And where do you think university students are learning to engage in this kind of irrational behavior? In some circumstances, these professors are standing alongside these students, advocating for safe spaces and restrictive speech. Watch here.
Hi, media. Can I talk to you?
No, you need to get out.
Well,
you need to get out.
No, I don't.
You need to get out.
I actually don't.
All right. Hey, who wants to help me get this reporter out of here? I need some muscle over here. Help me get him out. Who's going to help me?
Let this go. We got to let this guy out.
You need to help. You guys need to make room for this guy to come through. He shouldn't be in here.
No.
And don't let him back in.
So these professors that are encouraging and even instilling this kind of behavior into their students are the root cause of the problem. And we, as taxpayers, fund them. Actually, the Canadian government funds over half of post-secondary costs that add up to billions of dollars, and that includes salaries. In Canada, these profs' salaries are paid with taxpayer money, and they show up on the sunshine list of government employees that make over $100,000 a year routinely. Presidents and vice presidents can bank close to $1 million, including benefits and salaries. So not only are these profs left-leaning, but they're loyal to the government that's willing to send more funds their way to make their lives pretty comfortable, which are also usually leftist. So who do you think these profs told students to vote for in the last election? Harper or Trudeau? Or even Mulcair? Yeah, that's right. These young minds will soon turn into adults that vote. So universities can also be thought of as churning out a bunch of future blindly partisan voters too. We're paying to turn these kids into radicalized ideologues. Andrew Scheer's plan to defund universities that don't support free speech is well-intentioned, but I don't think it's going to do anything to aid in the war on the thought police because the fox is in the henhouse on this one. It's not just free speech we have to stand up for. It's the very people that are spreading the message to shut it down that we have to stand up against. The idea in his policy that we have a long-standing tradition encouraging professors to pursue avenues of research and thoughtful investigation unfettered by political interference is naive. I just talked about 25 years worth of long-standing data on liberal-leaning university professors. This is a problem that's been festering for decades and isn't just an issue in universities that shut down events. They're in every university. And look at just how many events have actually been shut down recently and how many of those closures were actually followed through with by university administration. Attempts to silence Dr. Jordan Peterson, professor at the University of Toronto that refuses to use the array of, what is it now, over 70 gender pronouns have been ongoing. Our own Ezra Levant carried on with his talk outside of the building at a Generation Screwed event when protesters pulled a fire alarm. There are pro-life groups being shut down, and the list just goes on and on. What's crazy is that some of these students are paying 6 figures for their education. So if universities want to get into the business of thought policing, don't they make enough money to survive on their own? I mean, they'll have to get off the government trough and cut a few salary dollars, but hey, if you can't survive without the government shoveling taxpayer money your way, then maybe you shouldn't be in business at all. They don't need government subsidies. Their faculties are stacked with left-leaning professors that are using their influence on young minds to propagate their political ideas, and in my opinion, this is one of the most dangerous times for thought policing and silencing ideas. These professors are encouraging it. And what does this behavior say about the quality of education and the outcome for these students? The education and indoctrination that us taxpayers are subsidizing. Left-wing professors and ideologues are no longer arming students with the knowledge to form an argument. Instead, they're teaching them how to silence debate. Students aren't being subjected to new and even scary or uncomfortable ideas. Instead, they're being introduced to safe spaces. Imagine being an employer and having to deal with employees that scream for a safe space every time you ask them to complete a task that maybe they don't want to do. Because that's the type of mentality that's being bred in our universities right now. These students aren't going to be prepared for the real world. Safe spaces and silencing debate are intellectually dishonest on their own. So how can you trust an education system that's caving into political correctness over honesty? You can't, which is why universities and degrees will eventually become obsolete. They won't mean anything anymore when the truth is silenced in favor of political dogma. For the Rebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked that video, make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss the other side of the story in Canadian news.